Well, folks, how many times have you heard the adage that money can't buy happiness? Well, it turns out that may not necessarily be true. In fact, a Nobel Prize winning psychologist who introduced the idea of happiness plateau more than a decade ago revisits it, and it turns out maybe it can. And maybe some more money than what they originally thought might be a good thing for happiness. Here to talk to us about it, Leigh Richardson, licensed professional counselor and founder, clinical director of the Brain Performance Center. Leigh, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, Leigh, a lot of folks have heard that adage, money can't buy happiness. What does this study actually reveal?
Well, this study looks at it a little bit differently. And, it's an age-old question. If I have more money, will I be happier? And what this study has found is that, maybe it does. Because certainly the amount of money that we have links to our security and to our sense of wellness. Whereas before, what studies had found that, if for the very, very poor people, money clearly helps a lot. But once you reach a certain point, then money can't fix your problems. And, I've thought about this, and I think that money can buy happiness, but it does that in the way that you spend your money.
Yeah, I guess so. They introduced this notion of contentedness. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think content kind of ties into what I mentioned before, that feeling of wellness and security. And that does increase steadily as our income does. And, they found that once you got beyond the six figures, 100,000 a year, that the person enjoys a certain baseline of happiness to start with. Because you can have access to things that increase your satisfaction with life. You have access to things that increase your well-being and your health. So it makes sense that you would feel more content.
Yeah, especially when it comes to knowing that you can afford the basic necessities and not really having to think twice about it, right? That you can just be more comfortable in a lifestyle. It doesn't mean you live with excesses, but you just you live your life not having to worry about, paying the utility bill or the sewage bill or the water bill and things of that nature.
Or, if an older parent is going to need help, that you have the finances that you'll be able to help them. And just knowing that you can use your money to help other people, I think is a great source of happiness.
So there was this notion in the original study of that kind of happiness plateau. At a certain amount of money, you kind of plateau out and you don't really have an appreciable difference if you were making $30,000 more. When we think about the complexity of the economy today, and even economists are having a real difficult time figuring out where we actually are, do you suspect that number has probably gone up exponentially?
Well, I think that number is influenced by a number of things. Number one, cultural values and where you live and what matters most to you. I mean, money is such an the relationship that we have with money is it's a relationship. I mean, some people have clients who, when they'll start talking about they have the need to save money, and I can see that anxiety kind of rolling in. I can see the muscle tension. And just the thought of saving money overwhelms them. Or you have some people that grew up with money, not that it was in abundance, but they grew up with money and spending money. When you talk about how they're going to spend money, you can see that joy. You can see that their big smile come on their face, their eyes light up. So I think that, we all have a relationship with money, and that impacts how we react to it.
And I got to imagine there are some people that are just unhappy in life, right? I mean, I've met those folks that I don't know of anything that would make them happy, including money.
Absolutely. And when you're in a real low spot and you can't see anything and you can't see goodness or feel any joy, money's not going to even register.
Yeah. Even though with the possibility of having money, as you so describe, what you do with it, if you were to give it to not-for-profits, charities, make a difference in other people's lives, I still believe that some of those folks that are unhappy, that wouldn't make them happy either.
I agree with you. I think that, happiness comes from within. You've got to have it within yourself to be able to correlate it with anything else in your life.
Yeah. I found this plateau concept very interesting. I'd not heard of that before. And I kind of look, at what's going on in this country today. We have a very difficult time defining wealth and who's rich and who's not rich, and where's the threshold to being rich. We have these coffee table discussions all the time about the definition of rich, and I mean everybody brings a different perspective to that. And when I was reading, part of this study about this plateau, it's like that reminded me of this argument about who's rich and who's not.
Well, and that ties into what matters to you, because I have clients that feel that they are so much richer now that they're able to work from home. That really matters to them. They don't have to get dressed. They can wear their sweats all day long. And they're making the same amount of money today that they were when they worked out of an office, but they feel so much richer because what really matters to them is what they're receiving.
So I guess what you're saying is wealth can come to you in many different ways, not necessarily the function of money.
Absolutely. And, there's no doubt about it. Money does make life easier, but does it really increase your overall happiness? And that's the age-old question. And that's probably one of the biggest source of, not probably, it is the biggest source of conflict in couples counseling, is money. Yeah. How they spend it, how they save it.
Do you find that people appreciate it more if they had a point in time in their life where they didn't have it?
Well, I find that some people do, but I also find that some people, if their past, the way they grew up, they did not have money, then that their mindset about it is very different. And it's the mindset that, there's never going to be enough. And there's always, I'll never be able to get all my expenses paid. And that's a different mindset. And how your past influences, some people call those money wounds, because when you're hurt around money, when you're a kid, maybe as you were growing up, you really, wanted to have something extra special, and your parents could just not afford it. That stays with you. That stays in your head, and that impacts the way you think and feel about money.
Yeah, I think it historically, it's been something that has created friction in society, and I think it's still doing it today, and I think in the future it'll do it even more as to the haves and the have-nots as it relates to it. But I'm like you. I don't know that individuals have the capacity to make people happy. I think we have the capacity to have a shared experience of happiness. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And I think a lot of people, used to spend so much money on holidays around buying nice gifts. And I've seen a shift in that trend to where they buy experiences that they can share with other people, because that does have lasting happiness.
Yeah. Interesting study, interesting thoughts about this. And I think in the end, as I'm getting a number of texts coming in, and say it's really not about money. It just makes life easier. I guess something less to think about. It's kind of relieving a burden in many respects, right?
Absolutely. And if you, I mean, you don't have to worry about those, you need new tires. You don't have to worry about all those little things. And that does make life easier. And I think for some people, that increases their overall happiness. But for other people, it really doesn't register.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Leigh Richardson. We really appreciate your time and your insight, and hopefully that we're both able to go out there and share happiness.
No, thanks for having me.
All right, that's Leigh Richardson, licensed professional counselor and founder, clinical director of the Brain Performance Center.